Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Bridge, brought to you by Business Day. I'm Arese Ugwu, and today we're going to be discussing how to make a killing in the stock market. And to discuss this, we have two handsome gentlemen, Mr. Kayode Omosebi, who's the head of research at ARM, and Mr. Adwunmi, who is the CEO of Jobberman. Stay tuned, guys. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Bridge. I'm Arese Ugwu, and today we're going to be talking about foreign exchange, real estate, insurance, exporting, how to make a killing in the stock market.
Hi everyone, my name is Afua Ose. I'm a co-founder of She Leads Africa.
My name is Bankole Olufemi. I'm co-founder of Big Herbal Media.
Welcome to Utopia Beauty. We're an online beauty store that sells skincare, hair care, and makeup products.
I am Chef Regs Bubemi Fregene, executive chef and owner of Chef Regs.
Every single product that we stock is tried and tested by my team and I.
We do a detailed menu here at Chef Regs so that the team has very specific instructions on what to do.
For me, one of the coolest things about being an entrepreneur, especially one who's working in the creative media space, is the fact that I can wear my hair however I like, and I can get away with not having to wear a suit.
And you need to stay watching The Bridge.
For the Central Bank of Nigeria, our first work now to make sure say price stable. But to fit achieve this kind thing, we must make sure say money stable, plus financial environment way sound and chance to take collect capital without disturb for the real sector. This na why since 1960, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, they promote financial system way sound for Naija plus interventions and funding of Orishirishi development initiatives them. For inside agriculture, micro, small and medium enterprises them and infrastructure sector them. The reason why we dey put hand now to take increased credit flow go inside strategic sectors to take reduce financial exclusion rate and stimulate value chain development. With guarantees, rebate and direct funding them, we support plenty Orishirishi initiatives where we target to take create wealth and plenty job opportunity them. Shey agriculture business you dey do, MSMEs abi infrastructure development? Make you visit www.cbn.gov.ng abi make you waka enter any CBN branch to take know how you fit take create wealth plus job opportunity them. This message now from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN.
Welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be talking about stocks. I'm personally a huge fan of the growth prospects of the Nigerian stock markets. So I find it quite funny when I hear young people saying, I don't do stocks. Yes, stocks are risky, but it's interesting that you'd rather invest in your friend Lagbaja's fish farm and be willing to lose all your money and hear stories later, but you wouldn't take a risk on some of the best companies that this country has, who are listed on the stock market. I say that because on the stock exchange. I say that because there's a lot of criteria that they have to meet to be able to be listed on the stock exchange. So you're actually mitigating your risks. Historically, even if stocks are really risky, they usually outperform every other asset class in the long run. However, there's some downsides to it. It's not a money doubling scheme. And in the studio, we have a few guests who are going to discuss this with me. So, Deji, have you ever invested in stock markets in Nigeria?
Well, in Nigeria, no. But outside Nigeria, the answer is yes.
Okay, why?
But I also keep a very close eye on the Nigerian Stock Exchange because it's definitely a market I would like to play in at some point. Yeah.
But can you explain a little bit of why? So you're not risk averse, obviously, because you invest in stocks, but not in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Trust issues, maybe?
Well, I think one of the biggest issue for me is obviously corporate governance, but obviously you also have some very good stocks out there. For example, Guarantee Trust Bank, I think is one of the best performing stock on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. But I think one of the things I'm also very dear to me is the timing. I think you have to just get in at the right time.
Right time.
The other thing I think is very important is over time, when you look at specific industry like the insurance industry, you discover that a lot of the stock, more than 90% of the stocks are actually at 0.5 naira, which is 50 kobo.
Yeah.
So these stocks have been at 50 kobo for quite a while, and then some of the questions you ask yourself obviously is why, and because globally insurance is very attractive. So what exactly is going on?
And it's actually picking up here, but then let's move over to Kayode. What are your tips for? Because I find that a lot of young people, even when they're not scared of the Nigerian stock market, they don't want to go into it because they have this misconception that it's only for rich people, or they just simply don't know how. So what are your tips on how to build a stock portfolio in Nigeria for someone who does not have a clue?
Well, for me, like you could invest in the stock market with as low as 50,000 naira. But for me, I always advise people to build your funds to a good threshold. So maybe you have like 6 months or 3 to 6 months of your net salary to a level. Then when you build out to a level, then you can begin to actually allocate some percentage into stocks. And so that way you can actually still have some very safe portfolio like treasury bills and savings bond, and then you can start to build your investment in stocks. So investing in stocks, a lot of people have that conception in Nigeria about buying the stocks is bad, it's only for rich people. But it's about understanding the basics. And like when you invest in a stock, you're actually buying in, trying to benefit from the future earnings of the company. So it's either you're doing capital gains, making money for capital gains, or dividend. And so in terms of capital gains, it's a lot about information, what drives the market, what's the future earnings of the company.
Let's break it down a little bit for my audience. So capital gains is when the price of the stock goes from maybe 5 naira to 7 naira to 10 naira over time. So you might get to a point where your money, increases by say 20% or whatever. Then dividend yield is what the stock actually pays out, right?
Yeah, every year.
So every year when they make money, it's not compulsory, by the way. They might just decide, you know what, we want to give you some money from our profits, and then they declare a dividend. So dividend is basically like your passive income.
From the company. So you can either be investing for capital gains or dividend, or you're investing for both. So if you're going for capital gains, that's where that's where the stock market really works, because it's driven by information. Prices go up and down, and it's about being aware of what he said is about timing. So you can't just before people just buy stocks and just say, give your broker, buy me shares. But you actually
have cousin said that this stock is
good. So you actually have to be sure about the company. I mean, most of these companies that are listed, he talked about GTB. You don't need a layman to understand that, this is a solid bank, and this bank is doing what it meant to do. Almost everyone, like 9 out of 10 people have a GT bank account. So that can tell you that this company is doing fine. So if you understand the dynamics behind the company, you can actually forecast the future earnings of the company. Then when you understand those basics, then you know what you're buying. And
I think even just for the audience, because people ask me this all the time, they're like, you know what, you say, find out about their financials or their growth prospects, but that doesn't mean anything to normal people. So, but my thing is, the same way you make a decision to buy a bag by looking on Instagram and looking at all the different colors of that bag, you can go on ProShare or, information platforms like that, where you can just decide to pick one stock every month in one sector and read all the news about that stock. Look at the price, the historic price of it. What kind of dividends do they pay out, normally? Are they regular? Those tiny bits of, information that help you make some kind of informed, decision. But, you discussed risk. I wanted to ask, why do you feel like it's less risky to invest in stocks outside of, the country?
Well, I think
clearly you don't want to put your money here because you're like a snob for the Nigerian stock market. You're above it. So why would you rather put your money, in stocks that are listed abroad?
Well, I think the market is still at a very early stage. Even obviously there are just some sectors that are more sophisticated, like the banking sector. But I think for me, maybe one of the primary reasons why I've not really invested in Nigerian Stock Exchange is over time I've discovered that because I'm in the technology industry, I've discovered that I guess betting on the future, which obviously when you look at technology itself is about the future, and one of the best or kind of stocks out there. They are actually technology stocks.
And we don't have a lot of technology stocks.
And we don't have
listed in
a lot of
Nigerian
technology
stock
stocks
market.
in Nigeria. So that's the primary reason why, okay, I've looked elsewhere to invest in. But obviously, like I said, the Nigerian Stock Exchange is something I keep a track of, just to understand, okay, what are the
What's
different
going on in the market?
Sectors doing, the equities, what are the fundamentals behind some of the stocks. Also trying to understand whether there are some key management changes that will affect the growth of the company, and whether there are new institutional investors that are coming in, and how that will obviously translate to the future prospect of the company. So these are some of the things that I think for me as a person, I just keep track of, maybe just to also understand what's going on in the market. And like I said, I think the most important thing is just the timing. Obviously, I'm going to get in.
But you know, speaking of timing, don't you think that this is kind of the best time to start investing in the Nigerian stock market? Because the market is sick at the moment. Prices are like at rock bottom. I feel like I say this every couple of months, but they keep getting like worse. But prices are really low. And so they have, when they're low like that, they have the prospect of, you know, appreciating in value when the economy settles. So I feel like if we have economic policy direction, you know, from the government, and we know this is where the economy is going, and there's more certainty in the economy, it will grow. So don't you think this is a time to start, you know, putting the building blocks together and buying those stocks at a discount?
Yeah, so now the valuations are attractive. The key about in the stocks is buy low, sell high.
Yeah.
So you actually need to look at the right time to enter the market. So most of these companies suffered last year. Most of them reported, significant losses. And so those prices went down, and the stocks look very attractive. But what we've seen recently, like since they opened the new FX window, a lot of foreign investors have been buying. And the thing with Nigerian investors is there's this bandwagon effect. So foreign investors buy, start pushing, and then we jump into the rally. And then sometimes
by then it's already too late.
It's already too late. Sometimes you get yourself beat into those stocks, and you're not even sure. You're just buying because this stock is moving, and so everybody's buying, and I just buy into it. So
I actually find it so interesting. So when the mentality is very interesting, because if you told someone that Neiman Marcus was doing a sale, and all the prices were going down of all the designer, you know, clothes and accessories or whatever, they will run there. Have you seen Black Friday queues? Yeah. But if you tell someone that all the prices are going down in the stock market, they start automatically, they see it as a bad thing. Like, I don't want to go there. Or they start selling, exactly. Which doesn't make any sense, because when it's doing badly is technically when you should be investing, especially if you believe in the future of Nigeria. Because most people, they look at the stock markets with regards to the Nigerian economy, and it's like, I don't want to put my money here in case anything changes.
Yeah, it's very tied to the economy. Yeah. I mean, there's a strong correlation between even crude oil prices and Nigerian stock exchange in the last 10 years. So when oil prices start to move, the market moves. Tomorrow now there's a meeting, and if oil prices move, you can expect that to actually
affect the market.
Sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of your top stocks? Don't worry, we'll not hold you to it, but just tell us, like, you know, what stocks are you looking at the moment? What's doing well? What has, you know, the potential to grow?
Okay, I like to take it from the top down. Let's look at the economy. Okay. So we're recovering. Oil production is coming up. GDP came out, and we're looking to come back to positive. So most of these companies that actually got affected because of these economic indicators will begin to look fine. So the budget is coming out, there's more spending. So it's about what are the companies that stand to gain. The key issues is about companies that have issues with FX. Yeah. So if you have liabilities that are foreign currency denominated, there's still issues. And then people who are actually exposed to consumer spending.
Sorry, let me just break down that liability, that foreign exchange.
Like your debt.
So if you have a bank loan that is dollar denominated, then that's not a good thing.
Yeah, but if you have an asset,
or you have supplier credits that's dollar denominated,
it's not a good thing. But if you have an asset that is dollar denominated, it's good. Most of the banks, GTB reported about 60 billion FX gains, just translation gains last year. So it's about looking at the FX, looking at the consumer. So in terms of consumer goods, most of the consumer income is depressed, so people are not really buying. So the good guys are the guys who have actually gone down trading, going into cheaper products. So that's why we like the likes of Nigerian breweries. Nigerian breweries is a good one for us.
Yeah, but aren't people buying it more? Because I heard people drink more in a recession. So the prices
Yeah, they drink
should
more,
be
but
going. The prices for that should be going
they
up.
drink more, but they drink cheaper beer. So, like they say, the rich are moving to spirits, while people are moving to cheaper beer. So, Guinness has been suffering because of that, because it's quite a premium brand. So, Nigerian breweries probably they've seen this ahead. They've gone into cheaper beers. You can buy a beer for like 120, 100 naira. Though it's quite a small margin. So they need to position themselves for that. I also like likes of Nestle, because most of them, what they've done is most of their imports, they've actually started to source locally. So you don't have any exposures to FX. And so we like Guaranty Trust Bank. The deposits are cheap, a lot of savings, and they've tried to grow their assets. And in terms of corporate governance, like you said, reporting for Guaranty Trust Bank is good. Corporate governance is good. They have a going concern.
They're quite liquid. You can sell it at any time.
You can sell it at any time. And even change of management doesn't really affect the company. So there's a plan.
Let's talk about those two stocks actually, because Nestle is historically quite a pricey stock.
Yes.
It's about 1,000 naira.
Yeah, it's about 800 naira now.
Okay, now. Okay, so and then GTB is in late 20s, early 30s.
31, yeah.
Great. So what's the difference between investing in a stock like Nestle that is quite pricey and investing in a stock like GTB? So what can you gain more from?
Well, it depends on where your target,
what your goals
are and what your target price is. For Nestle, for the last 10 years, dividend payment has actually been constant.
Yeah.
So if you're investing in, that's why people who own Nestle don't really sell. Because they just want to benefit from this dividend. Some of them bought their low bottom. And then because of Nestle, it has a foreign exposure to their foreign company. So a lot of institutional investors, when they come to Nigeria, there's some kind of stocks they want to buy. They don't want to buy a stock where they owe the large punch of it. So if they want to sell, it's going to be difficult. So liquidity is an issue too. So that's why they invest in stocks like Nestle. For GT2s on the other side too, among the banks, return on equity actually been the highest among all of them. And like I said, they basically position well. They don't have any exposure to power sector, which is a troubled sector now. so it's quite good for them. They basically, provided for a lot of bad loans. So in terms of where the return is, I think they're two different companies, two different sectors. So I would say if you want to have like an equity portfolio, it's always good to have exposure to different sectors. So you're
diversified.
Yeah, so you should have a Nestle, you should have a GT, I would advise. So for GT, what you look at for stocks between maybe a GT and a Zenith Bank, you'll be looking at what their price to earnings is. So it's like saying that if I buy this stock, how many years will it take me to actually recover my price? So you compare that a GT with a Zenith Bank. The one with a lower PE is actually more good to buy. And then
what has a lower PE right now?
Currently, Zenith has a lower PE than GT. GT has rallied significantly. Zenith, so there's still some sentiment. So you can't just look at PE because Zenith is looking to raise capital. And when you're trying to raise capital, people don't want to buy into the stock because it looks like either there might be dilution or you're taking more debt into your balance sheet. So that's where, so you look at the PE, you can also look at what the return on equity is over the last 5 years. And you can actually look at your dividend yield. So that's where your price is and to the dividend. How much will I be paying and the return for that?
I'm enjoying this conversation so much, but I feel like my audience, like we've gone above their heads. But this is great. I want each of you to share like one last tip that you'd give someone who wanted to just start out in the Nigerian stock market. Actually, before I go to that, I was going to ask Kayode about minimums. So what's the minimum that, say, for example, with ARM, if I wanted to start a stock portfolio today, how much would I have to have minimum to open a brokerage account with you? And, do you help us pick stocks? Or how do I go about that process?
So the minimum is about 50,000 naira, like I said before. So in terms of picking stocks, what we do, that's where we have the research arm. So like we said, information drives the market. And so we keep our clients updated with information about different stocks and where we see our top picks are. And if there's anything that's changed, we actually update. In terms of the stock trading, what is like recent in the last 3 years, there's been online trading platform. I mean, before I came here, I actually made a trade now. So you can log into your online broking platform. You see the stocks, you can see the movement, who is buying, who is selling, and actually watch it to gauge to buy. So you can get your portfolio.
So you don't actually need a broker?
Yeah, you don't need to call a broker. All you just need is information from the broker. You can do it online now.
That's impressive. So what's your tip? So after having this conversation, are you thinking, maybe I should put my leg in the Nigerian stock market?
Yeah, I'm actually thinking. I think Kayode has made some very interesting points. Obviously, so it's something I will look into. But I think in all, before you get into something, you really need to get a better understanding. So I think fundamentals are really important. So if you're buying a stock, just be very clear about the fundamentals, what your objectives are at the end of the day. And like Kayode said, is it really going to be like a dividend kind of equities that you're looking at, or you're actually buying into the future? So those will be my 2 cents for the audience.
Before we go, I was just going to touch a little bit on mistakes that people make when they're going into the stock market. So I find that most people think it's either a money doubling scheme. So that mentality is, oh, you know what? My brother said that there's money here, so I'll put money in, and in a few weeks, I would have doubled it. And that's what usually gets people in trouble. Because when the market gets like that, it means it's probably about to crash. And then 2, you don't borrow money to invest in the stock market. Are there any other like mistakes that you find that like people make when it comes to investing in stocks?
Well, so first, yeah, just like you said, people think it's a money as a short term. So you said people call you and say, I want to make 50% in the next 2 weeks. Which stock can I buy? And then you don't even know what to say.
Nigerians like fast money.
So you want fast money. It's just like a company, and it takes a while to grow.
Yeah.
So equities is a long-term investment.
Game, yeah.
It's not something you just put your money in and stay. But if the opportunity is still in the short term, you can actually make from it. So people don't need to understand that it's a long-term investment. And then also you don't, like you said, you don't borrow. So you build your funds to a level where you can take that risk.
Yeah.
At the young age now, it's actually easy to invest in stocks. You can't tell someone who's retiring to actually start buying shares. So that's another thing. And then like also say, some people just follow the crowd. So this stock is getting 100%. Jobberman, it's gained 100%. So it's rallied already. Why do you want to buy into it? Are you sure?
You missed the boat.
You missed the boat. Are you sure the company can still do more than that? So you need to actually be sure before you start investing in stocks.
Yeah.
And like I tell you, what I take this short thing from Warren Buffett, he says, when everybody are rushing out, that's the best time to come in. So when people are panicking,
when people are fearful,
yeah,
that's when you should enter the market.
And
when everyone is running to it, that's when it's time for you to leave.
So if you understand those timing, understand the fundamentals, and then you're fine.
I want to die. Calm down. What is the problem? That bank, they vanished with all my money. Which bank? Oh, the Wonder Bank. Yes. They made away with all my entire savings after promising to double my investment. Oh. Hey, I'm finished. But remember, I warned you that those Wonder Banks and Ponzi schemes are illegal. They come up with all sorts of schemes to give you 100% interest or more on your deposit within a very short period. Yes. After collecting your money, they disappear. Hey! Many unsuspecting investors have been duped by these so-called banks and financial houses. Yes. Next time, when you want to put your money in any investment, either in any bank or any financial house, make sure you do a thorough investigation through the financial regulators in the sector. Hi. I'm finished.
Beware of scammers. Don't put your life's investment in Wonder Banks and other questionable institutions. This message is from the Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC.
That's fantastic. And remember, guys, you can't get rich by using a savings account. You have to invest for the long term, and the stock market improves your chances of doing that. So it's quite a conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much, Arese.
That was a very fascinating conversation. A big thank you to my guest, Mr. Deji Adeomi, CEO of Jobberman.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being on the show.
Thank you for coming. And Mr. Kayode Omosebi, the head of research at ARM.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Let's continue this conversation on social media. My handle is @SmartMoneyArese, and you should also follow the Business Day page at BusinessDayNG. I look forward to hearing your own tips on how to play the stock market. See you next time.